completed roster, just general takeaways from the draw on the weekend.
Yeah, I think it shows our depth and the level of competitiveness that you've got in the squad, and the fact that the players are very willing to play up to that mentality of sort of next man in line comes in and does their job, and that's what we found. I think in parts the game was all about grit and discipline and organisation and the sense of collective, but I also felt like, particularly in the first half, we had a really good share of the game and had some really good chances, so it wasn't that we won the game being on the back foot for its entirety. So I think that was really pleasing. It was probably a more complete performance than we could have expected beforehand.
Talk a little bit about sort of the versatility of some of the players and also their willingness to play in maybe positions that they're not sort of comfortable with in the Sangban and the Caden Clark, and just sort of that mindset.
Yeah, that's a really big part of what we've done so far, and what I know any success we have will rest on the base of all that being coachability and willingness, and I think those two guys are as good an example of that as we could find at the moment, in that they've got a really versatile skill set from the perspective of how they can deal with the ball, but also athletically, and then the biggest thing in the fact that they are willing, they are very engaged in the coaching process, they're big team players, and I think we need that from almost every player that we've got if we're going to really stretch ourselves to the max, which is what it's going to require if we want to be successful. That's just the nature of the position we're in and the squad that we've got, so those two really, yeah, they're a beacon for that approach, I suppose.
Looking ahead to a game against Seattle on the road in Seattle, as someone who's new here, you may not understand sort of the history, but is that something that you consider? Obviously the players may have a little bit more of an understanding of it. How do you approach a game like that where maybe the club hasn't had so much success?
Yeah, I don't think you can take too much from that, in the sense it's we're a different group, different set of staff. I'm sure they don't reflect all that strongly how they've been over the course of the last 2-3 years, so I don't think there's too much to read, other than the fact that it's a challenge that we can go and meet head on. We've met challenges all the way through this season in that way, so I can only imagine it's going to be a positive if anything. And I said to the group this morning that we've got a group that every time they've been asked to rise to an occasion, largely they've done so, and this next double header will really entail that, with a squad that is stretched and thin, going to a place like that where we've obviously found it difficult, and then going to play in Dallas three or so days later. It's a really big 2 days that can arguably define the coming period, so we've got to make sure we meet that really well.
It seems like in this league every week you face off against a superstar number 9 or an attacking player, from Belonga to Jesus Ferreira and now Jordan Morris from Rui Diaz. How do you sort of approach players like that, and knowing that we've had a very good defense?
I think generally it's brought the best out in our players, and we do try and take the stance that we focus far more on us than the opposition, but I think it's been unavoidable in a lot of the games so far that the opposition have top forwards that we really need to deal with in a very specific way, and I think largely in the same way that the players do in almost every other way, they rise to that challenge, and it's an occasion where someone like Boxy and Miguel and Kervin and those guys playing at the back, they like to play against top players, and I think you saw for example Boxy's top performance against Musa on the weekend, a player that's been bought for big money, that's come with real pedigree at the peak of his powers, and I think that's brought out the best in Boxy, and I assume that's the way in which we'll approach next week too.
Talk about one last player rising to the challenge, Clint Irwin. Has had some big saves on Saturday, but how important is that to have a veteran sort of with his mindset that's capable of stepping in and sort of not missing a beat?
Yeah, that's a really big thing, and I don't think anyone had any doubts about Clint going in. I think if you watch the way he goes about his work every day, and how he is as a character, he's very steady, he's very experienced. I can't imagine that there's a situation in the MLS that is going to phase him all that much, and we really needed him to come in, particularly at the beginning of his time in place of Dane, and give the team a real sense of stability and ease at the back, and he did that. So yeah, we had no qualms with him playing, and as you say, the fact that he hasn't missed a beat, the team feels like they've got that solidity behind them. That's a huge thing going into the period of games that we've got to face now.
Then you've had a few days to reflect versus the game against Dallas. What can you take away from that performance?
Well, I think as a whole we were tough to break down. Had a lot of good performances out there from guys who stepped in and stepped up, and I thought it was something for us to build on through this stretch, especially where guys are away with their international teams, and just trying to put together some results in the summer as the games come one after another.
You kind of mentioned it a little bit. The team actually made 6 changes to the starting 11, the most that the team's done this season. What, as a veteran, how important was that next man up mentality for the entire group?
Yeah, it's always important in this league. Everyone's going to have a chance to play, and you need everyone to put in performances throughout the season. And sometimes you know when your number's going to be called, sometimes you don't, and it's just a matter of staying ready. And fortunately, we have a lot of guys who train hard every day and come in, and also the coaching staff does a great job to prepare every guy to know their responsibilities when they step out there and to be able to perform well. And so I think that's something for us to build on, and it's one of our strengths this year.
On your performance, you had 2 really incredible saves in the second half to keep the team, still in the game, and ended up getting that 1-1 at the end. How was that for you to just be able to help the team in that game?
Yeah, it's good. Anytime you're out there, you want to be able to contribute in some way, and you don't want to say that you want the opportunities to make saves, but you're going to be called on at some point during the game, and so I was able to be in the right spots in the right moments there, and happy to keep us in it.
You guys are going to go to Seattle, which is historically a very difficult place to play, but you guys have already played in some difficult venues, lastly Colorado and LAFC. What can you take away from playing at Seattle and those 2 games that you just had in Colorado and LAFC to take for this upcoming weekend?
Yeah, we've had a decent road record this year, so I think in a lot of times the way that we play suits ourselves on the road. Sometimes we're able to defend a little bit and play in transition. So I think we go there with confidence, knowing that wherever we play, whether home or away, we can put in good performances and hopefully get a good result.
Does the fact that Ramsay hasn't been in the league for so long kind of give you guys kind of like a fresh set of eyes, being able to go to these places with a coach who doesn't maybe know the challenges that he's facing you?
I think sometimes you can maybe when you've been in the league and you haven't had that history of results there, whether there's always times where you go. Whether it's Seattle or another place where you think, man, I can't remember the last time we won here, and I don't know what our record is away from there. But like you said, sometimes it's good just to have that fresh perspective, and without that history of, here we go again. So it's good, I think, and they do a good job of looking at every game within the context of that week and the opponent and our strengths. So we go there, we know we're going to be in for a tough battle. It's going to be a team that's looking for a win, and we have to be prepared, and I know we will be.
Thank you.